Are you willing to drink from the cup I am about to drink, or to be baptized by the baptism I am about to be baptized? These are the words that Jesus said to James and John in the Gospel today, after they wished to ask him to put them in the left and the right in his kingdom. If we go to the first reading today from the prophet Isaiah, we see that Isaiah is speaking about the suffering of Jesus. The suffering of Jesus that he is about to undergo through the prophecy that Isaiah has professed. Remember, he said that they are going to do him harm. He is going to suffer. He is going to go and be tortured, but he is going to be vindictive. He is going to be victorious. In the Gospel today, we see the same theme of Isaiah, when Jesus, after had been talking to the apostles that he is going to the cross, and he is going to not only to the cross, but he is going to be killed, and he is going to be buried, and he is going to be raised. The apostles try to question Jesus. Now that you are gone, why you don't do us a favor? And before you go to your eternal happiness, promise that we will go to sit on your right and the left. First of all, John and James, they did not understand what kind of undergoing that Jesus was going to be. They didn't understand the passion totally and completely. They think that he is the Messiah and he is the chosen one, and they never thought for one moment that he is going to go through that hardship of the cross. They understand that he is going to be persecuted because they saw the Pharisees and many of the leaders of the Jews go after him, but to be killed in that kind of a fashion, and also that he is going to rise, was beyond their understanding. And so Jesus tried to level with them and say to them, now listen, are you willing to drink from the chalice? Now what kind of a chalice he is talking about? Is that chalice of the Last Supper? Is the chalice that he is going to offer at the Last Supper? This is my blood which will be shed. And that's exactly what happened on Good Friday, is the fulfillment of Holy Thursday. That is the blood that that is the chalice that Jesus is speaking about. In fact, any pictures of John the Evangelist, you always see a chalice next to him to remind him of that word of Jesus that spoke to him. Are you willing to drink from the chalice I am about to drink? The chalice of suffering, the chalice of resentment, the chalice of dying. And then he said, are you willing to be baptized by the baptism I am about to be baptized, the baptism of blood that he is going to shed on Calvary? Remember, there are three different baptisms. There is the baptism of desire, the baptism of the water, and baptism of blood. Desire, somebody wished to become Christian, but they died prior to the baptism. Baptism of water that all of us has been embattled in, and the baptism that many of the martyrs, not many, the martyrs have really shed their blood for what they believe. They confirm their truth in the loving of faith of Father, Son, and Spirit through the shedding of the blood. And they answer yes. And another one, they don't understand what they are talking about. And that's why Jesus said to them, yes, I will prophesy that you will drink from my chalice and you will be baptized by my, but to sit on my right and my left is for my Father to decide that. It's not mine to give. And then he said, very, very important, that part of the gospel that sometimes is very hard. Because last Sunday Jesus is asking for totality of fellowship. Not only obey the commands, go sell what you have, give it to the poor, and then come and follow me. Now today Jesus is asking us to do deeper. He is asking to shed our blood for him. To shed our blood for him. To give our life. This life that he gave us, you give it to him. And that's why he was so determined that those who are going to follow him, they are going to follow him even to the shedding of the blood. And let us listen to what the author to the Gentiles, to the Hebrews has to say. He said, he was everything like us. Jesus was everything like you and me, because not only he was divine, but in time he took the nature of humanity. And he went through everything that humanity goes through. But one thing is different. We may fall to sin. He was exempted from that. And that's why he can sympathize with us, what we go through in our suffering of life. Some people say, well, God does not have no interest in us. He does not care about us. He does not care about us when he went through everything that you as a human goes through. He was hungry, he was tired. He need to rest. He was hurt when somebody attacked him. He suffered in the flesh because the heavy of the cross and the insult that he received. And so Jesus can sympathize with us in our suffering. So when we put all this together, Isaiah speaking about the suffering of Yahweh, the servant suffering of Yahweh, and now he prophesies in Jesus. And Jesus today is saying to the disciples, you need to drink the chalice, you need to follow, you need to be baptized by the same baptism I baptized. And then in the Hebrew, he is saying to us that he understands where we are coming from. He knows our suffering. He knows our tribulation. And that's why it is very important for each one of us to understand that in order to be Christian, we have to endure the cross. We have to embrace him. Unless we climb Calvary, we cannot have the resurrection. That is part of our Christian calling. That we need to go through the Calvary of life, we need to go through the chastisement of life, in order that that suffering that we do is not in vain. Is going to lead us to the glory where he is, and he is waiting for us to come. So as we go to celebration of the Mass today, we pray. Especially we pray for those moments in our life when the suffering of life is very heavy on our shoulders, that we don't despair. We know that there is somebody here next to us who understands where we are coming from. And we understand that now that we understand that we have somebody who helps us, we are ready to help others. That's the most important. What good it is that you go through a suffering and then you forget. It's like, the people of authority. They forget what they were when they were not in authority. But then when they come in authority, what they do, they bounce their authority over others. And Jesus gave us a lesson today. The authority of the word is not the authority that you have in my community. When you become part of the church, you are serving one another. The one who serves is the one who is the greatest. I come not to be served, but to serve. And if I, who am divine and am human, I come to serve you and wash your feet and heal the people's illness and fed them and was there for the people when they need me, we need to do the same thing. Because the path of Jesus is the path of each one of us. We walk by faith and not by sight. We need to walk in the faith of Jesus Christ. We need to walk in that faith that reach out to others. This is going to merit us our eternal happiness. Because not only we have a consoler or we have a sympathizer for us in front of the Father, but how much now with that same consolation and that same compassion that we receive from him are ready to share it with one another. This is the message. Suffering in itself is no good. In fact, we pray for people not to suffer. But if that is the will of God, that we need to go through to that avenue of suffering, we know that we are uniting ourselves, as St. Paul said, to the suffering of Jesus Christ. So that our suffering continue to merit and to continue to bring others to salvation. God bless.